You're going to have your surgery in 5 weeks. Okay. We will make sure that goes in the bulletin and in the light post. 5 weeks.
I got cleared with my heart.
Good. I heard that happened, so that's a good thing.
Now I'm going to see the doctor and he wants me to send out. He wanted me to do it before, but the other doctor didn't want it done. So I seen him the other day.
Once you get all the check boxes, then you can proceed. You've already had the other side done, right? Okay.
I mean, that don't even bother me.
Doesn't bother you.
It didn't bother me when I first got it.
It'd be good to get that out of the way. That's just one less
Yeah.
problem.
Oh, yeah.
One less.
It said we didn't have to away with getting little Steve getting little serious. Because he gets sick out and starting to come up more.
Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of stuff can cause big problems.
Yeah.
Big problems.
Believe it or not, though, I feel a lot better since this one was done.
Sure.
I think I will with this.
I'm sure. Yeah, get another blood flow to your brain and stuff. That'd be good. That'd be good.
I don't feel as bad since I had this one done.
Well, good morning. We're going to pick up on our study of Isaiah. Chuck got into chapter 30 last week, and I'm going to pick up where he dropped off last week. So that's where we're at. I don't think I even created a new slide. I might have added some questions and stuff, but you had enough stuff with the rest of the 30, and it's like, I sorted some of them out, but I don't think I actually really created a new slide. So, where we're at with this study with Isaiah right now is the Assyrian Empire is on the doorstep of Jerusalem. Sennacherib has got that going. He's got a siege about to happen or is happening. I guess probably about to happen is the setting. The people of Jerusalem have reached out to Egypt. And that was what you talked about Egypt last week, right, Chuck? They've reached out to Egypt for help. And God's not real happy with that because he said, "You're my people, I'll take care of you." And so he's not real happy, and they've reached out to Egypt. That's where we're at. The storyline beyond what we have here, God wipes out Assyria's army as they start to siege. In one night, he wipes out that entire army. Sennacherib goes home. Over time, he's still not happy with his people, and he's not happy for them reaching out to Egypt. He sends in the Babylonians, because when that's done, the Assyrians have wiped out 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel. After that point, the Babylonians will come in, they'll wipe out the Assyrians, they'll wipe out the other 2 tribes. They'll take them into captivity in Babylon. So that's kind of the storyline that you have from there. And you see elements of Assyria, elements of Babylon. You also see elements of the gospel, so elements of the new covenant. So a little bit of everything is what I see in it. So we'll head on from there. A rebellious people. Isaiah 30, 8 through 11. We'll start out with verse 8. Now go, write it on a tablet in their presence, and inscribe it on a scroll, that it may serve in time to come as a witness forever. What did God tell Isaiah to do with his prophecy? We start out easy just because. Write it on a tablet, right? In their presence. Make sure, don't just write it down and lose it. Don't throw it away. Write it down where the people will know. So what kind of tablet is that? Yellow legal tablet? Probably stone. Yeah, probably stone. Stone would probably been out of sorts by this time, though. Really, realistically, wouldn't it? Not real common, but definitely good enough for forever. They typically wrote on papyrus. I know they wrote on vellum. And vellum's like animal hide, and they scraped the stuff off both sides, and that stayed for a long time. But this one, he wants to write on a tablet. Make sure the people know. Make sure it stays forever. And why? So you can't erase filling it in. Just rub it out till it's, You can't burn it. You can't erase it. And it serves as the fact that it's written this day, and it's in the presence. The people know it was written then. As that prophecy comes to being down the road, oh yeah, that was written before the event. It's a prophecy. It's God's hand in it. If you read enough commentaries, unfortunately, you will find people who deny the fact that a prophecy was made ahead of time. They will say that this was written down after the event. So what's the whole point? If there's no point in it, if that's what it is. So it was written down ahead of time, and it's remembered that it's written down. God told them that's going to happen, and it happens. For this is a rebellious people, false sons who refuse to listen to the instruction of the Lord. How have the people of Judah become false sons? No. Kids are supposed to not listen, right? To a certain degree. But yeah, they didn't listen to God. They didn't listen. They did their own thing. If we're going to be a family here, you've got to be part of that. That's always been the deal. I am your God, and you are my people, and it's a two-way deal there. But yeah, we're God's people. Well, we're not really. We're not going to listen to what's said. We're not going to listen to keep the laws, the commandments, the rules, the bedtime, eating the vegetables that are on the table, argue with mom, the whole deal. They're just going to, they don't work at home. But that's a good point. Get to the point where God was there to serve them rather than serve God. And you're right. The protection level when they wanted from God, although they reached out to other places, they would have been upset that he didn't protect them, didn't provide for them. They get to the point where God serves them. We see that today. There are a lot of people that the church serves them rather than they serve the church. So it's a human thing. Picking up in verse 10, Isaiah 30, who say to the seers, you must not see visions, and to the prophets, you must not prophesy the truth to us. Speak to us pleasant words. Get out of the way. Turn aside from the path. Stop speaking before us about the Holy One of Israel. So what are they doing to show their shallowness? What are they doing to show their vanity? They don't want anything to do with it. Like I said, lip service. It's yeah, but is kind of really the start of the sentence with this. God says this, and they're like, yeah, but no. And they're even telling the prophets, don't stop having these visions. We're not interested in this stuff. Don't prophesy the truth to us. Get out of the way. Turn it aside from this path that you're on. Stop speaking to us about the Holy One of Israel. That's pretty big stuff. What two things that people want to stop hearing about in verse 11? They definitely don't want to hear the truth. Really, that's it. They want to hear what they want to hear is where it is. Pleasant words is one of the things it's on there. Yeah, speak to us pleasant words. That's
kind of where we are today.
yeah. No. Yeah, there's no room for correction. There's no room for them being God's people even. I'm doing good enough. Everywhere. Yeah. Chad? Yeah. If everybody gets a participation trophy, you don't need to change anything. You don't need to improve. You don't need to be in good graces with God. It just, everybody gets in. But that is one of the common religious themes among Christians. I say Christians, and it's the whole wide spectrum. But there are a lot of people that God is so good that, if God gave his only beloved son, that none should perish, that's a theme that a lot of people have, is everybody gets in.
They don't have faith either.
They don't have to. Yeah, they don't have to have faith, but you're right. They don't develop that faith. They don't develop that trust, the confession that he is Lord, Yeah, they don't do that kind of thing. Yep, Dad's in here. I knew that's what you're looking for. You weren't looking for me, were you? Yeah. One thing is, don't tell us the path. Don't tell us the path back to God. We don't want to hear that kind of stuff. And then the other thing is, they want to hear about God himself. Clive? No. Yeah, they won't. You're right. It's the same people. They, no. And that's what's brought all this stuff on. Why are the Assyrians there? Because they kind of did what they wanted to do. You see that starting in, I guess, Judges is where I always pick it out. Because Judges says everyone did what was right in their own eyes. And Judges is this circle that they, times are good, they start doing what's right on their own eyes, and things get terrible. And as it gets terrible, God sends in the neighbors. He says, beat on them a little bit, and then we'll see. And then as they get beat on, they cry to God, and things get better. And God sends a redeemer. He sends a judge to fix things. And it's a circle, but the circle gets bigger and bigger through the book of Judges. And here the circle it doesn't come full circle. It doesn't come full circle until Christ comes. You see the Assyrian captivity, you see the Babylonian captivity, you see what Judaism turned into in the New Testament. So how do you think it'll turn out? You don't want to hear anything about the path. You don't want to hear anything about, you don't even hear God's name mentioned. How do you think that's going to turn out? Chad? Yeah, just exactly like it turns out in every society. You're right. And that's, destruction. You get rid of God because he doesn't satisfy everybody. He offends people, and you get rid of that. And then you get rid of, even behind that becomes a morality thing that disappears. Work ethic in general, it disappears, and things become crazy. And God's in charge. Governments, they all answer to God, and on any level. So, yeah, it turns out bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you follow what everybody else does around there, the Assyrians are, like I said, they're gobbling them up. If you follow what they're doing, what makes you think it won't happen to you? They got the idols and stuff, the false gods, the create your own God, build a God workshop. All that kind of stuff happens, and like I said, they just get eaten up. The definition of insanity. Keep trying the same thing. If it doesn't work, try it again. Maybe it'll turn out differently. But yeah, that's what's happening there. But you have to have, when you see the other nations getting eaten up, they're past the point of seeing God eating them. This is past the point of saying God's doing this. They don't want to hear about God. Capital, yeah. They listened, yeah. They listened. The people of God, the ones, Clive pointed out, this is the same people. These people, they were in captivity in Egypt. They went through the Red Sea. It's not these people, but it's their heirs, not their heirs. Their ancestors have done this. The word's passed down. You go through the book of Joshua. They built an altar so everybody will remember. At least when they're past there, it's like, oh yeah, that happened. the word's passed down. They know the law. They pass that down and make sure all the kids know. But they forget. Chad?
You know, if it's passed down on stone, the words are what follow it. It's pretty important because they didn't have whiteout. They didn't have erasers, so by the time you get down to the end and you make a mistake, you've got to start over.
Yeah.
So I imagine it would be pretty important to, pay attention to what was carved in stone because it's probably pretty important.
Exactly. Clay, that's, like fill like stone, or you can engrave it in stone. There's no backing out on that kind of thing. The old cuneiform that they had, like Abraham's time, it's the end of a reed and just push it in at a different angle, and that's kind of how the writing was. But this is Hebrew at this time, and it's got. I can't read Hebrew. I can't read those characters, but they're a little bit different. And any given change in the character, is that an apostrophe or a comma, or is that a parentheses? You better have it the right size and in the right spot. So, yeah, it becomes very important. You take your time. The history of how we got the Bible. They took, as they made copies, they checked and they double checked, and anything that was wrong, they gave it a burial. They burned it, and they made another one. It was sacred. It was sacred to the Jews. Each copy was perfect, and they knew that was something they taught the kids. You don't only learn Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers. You know how many A's are in that book. You know how many E's. So you can go through there and count it and see if it's correct. But perfect and hell, and not just lost. Don't just throw it out in the backyard and pile junk on it. It's kept, so it's there for later. Isaiah 30, verse 12. Therefore, this is what the Holy One of Israel says. Since you have rejected this word and have put your trust in oppression and crookedness and have relied on them. So in verse 11, I'm going to back up there. Verse 11 says, get out of the way, turn aside from the path, stop speaking before us about the Holy One of Israel. And in verse 12, he starts out with, therefore, this is what the Holy One of Israel says. They tell Isaiah that, and he's like, yeah, okay, thanks. But he starts out, this is what the Holy One of Israel says. He knows better, so that's where he starts out. So who did Judah trust more than God? And I'll give you a hint, oppression and crookedness. Who did they trust more than they trusted God? Because they don't want to hear about God, and they don't want to hear about his path.
The Assyrians. Okay.
Egypt is probably the answer I'm looking for.
Then they went to Egypt. So they went to and then later on, much later on, at the end of the Seleucid Empire, they trusted the Romans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they never learned.
They trusted crookedness and oppression. Like you said, it's the Assyrians, the Egyptians, the Romans. Susan?
When you think about it, it was just Satan. It's just like Adam and Eve.
It's
That
definitely
was the
Satan.
apple. That was the apple.
Yeah.
Or the fruit, or whatever.
Yeah, the fruit and the garden of Eden is oppression and crookedness. Yeah, you're right. Because they don't see the oppression, they see the fruit. And I think that's just sin and evil in itself. I saw Egypt, and I saw Egypt because of the oppression. These same people, their ancestors came out of slavery in Egypt. Would you ever trust Egypt? I don't know how Jews trust Germany. I know it's been 80 years, but I don't know, is it new people? And they got to be very watchful of that. And I know it's a whole different system when they set up country in the desert and all that kind of thing. But I know in their mind they always are watchful. They'd have to be. You watch one, you better watch out for others. I know in Germany, it's my understanding, that you can't Google Nazi. They don't want that. They work so hard to keep that out of their government and out of our people that you can't even use Google to find that. Which is, it's a lot of work to do that. Not what we do here. You could look that up. You could look up a recipe for crack cocaine if you wanted to, but it's America, and that's why we do things differently. But I understand where they're at. They don't want that coming back, and they want to be trusted. They want to separate themselves from a terrible piece of history. Therefore, this wrongdoing will be to you like a breach about to fall, a bulge in a high wall whose collapse comes suddenly in an instant, whose collapse is like smashing of a potter's jar, so ruthlessly shattered that a shard will not be found among its pieces, to take fire from a hearth or to scoop water from a cistern. So what's going to be the result to Judah of not following the Lord? They're going to collapse. It talks about a wall that's about to fall, a bulge in a high wall. The taller the wall, if it falls, the more smashed it'll be, the more destruction. It's just a force equals mass times gravity type of situation is what you're at. It'll be just, more like it. You ever been in a high situation, up high on a building, or like I know Isaac just went camping and hiking in Yosemite, and some of those trails have ropes, cables that are anchored into the rock, but you got to trust that each cable, each one of those anchors is in the rock. That's crazy stuff. I don't know that I've got enough trust into some of that stuff. You go out on a balcony on a hotel, you got to trust that railing works. You got to trust that the concrete under it is not dissolved, and because the higher up you are, the more you need that, for safety and such. And that's what that points out to. It's going to fall, and it's going to fall hard. It talks about the wall falling. It talks about compares to a smashed potter's jar. I'm sure you've dropped something in the kitchen before. You drop a glass, drop a piece of pottery, one of these earthenware pots or something, they'll shatter. And this says it's shattered in such a form there ain't a piece big enough to pick up a piece of fire, ain't a piece big enough to scoop water. Tiny, tiny. So just shattered. Chad?
The slide where, they kept going, they ended up going back to Rome and where they were first enslaved. It's kind of what they knew, though. They were comfortable with that. And I think that, they went just like us every day. We shuffle off to the same job. We don't know why. We don't know any other thing. Maybe they just kept going back because that's what they knew.
Could be.
And God was, there's something better. Just listen to me. But
kids need a set of rules. If you just let them go feral, they don't do so well. You got to let them go feral a little bit.
Yeah, Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Well, you saw a progression when they came out of Egypt. It wasn't too long before they said, after Judges, we want our own king. Why?
Our own king, yeah.
Like all the rest of the countries around us.
Yes, it is.
We want to worship the gods that they have, like all the countries. Now they says, we want to create deals with our government and other governments, like all the other countries around us. They weren't depending on God. And they kept getting, every one of those was a step away from God.
Step away from God. I like that. Like you said, they got to a point where they judged it. They wanted a king. God said, you won't. You'll be like, they want to be like everybody else. They want to have their kings. They want to have their gods. They bring this and they get deals with countries. They get farther and farther away from dependency on God. We can find ourselves in the same thing. I'll do it myself. I'll take care of myself. And it's an easy thing. That's an American thing. It's a man thing. I think probably that your hardest niche to hit in America is the men. Get to the point where they can say I love you to one another, not just their wife. Get to the point where they say I'm wrong, I need to correct. That's not the American male image. So that's probably one of the hardest things. And some elements of churches, some denominations suffer with that. They don't have it when it comes to women and kids only type of situation. How does this calamity to Judah occur? Talk talk about Assyria being a doorstep. Assyria's not who causes the collapse. God protects Jerusalem from Assyria. Destroys their army, sends Sennacherib home. So who smashes Jerusalem like a pot? Babylon. Babylon does. Babylon comes in next, because there's more of that. And
Nebuchadnezzar. Good old Neb.
Old Neb, yeah. Nebuchadnezzar does that. The Romans do a pretty good job of this too, later on. And, you know, but, and I'll take from that, like I said, the pieces are so small, you can't put it back together, you can't do anything with it. And Judaism, after the collapse of, in AD 70, after that collapse, there's nothing they can do with it. There's no temple, there's no, you know, the church has already replaced it, but it dies. Yeah.
They didn't. They dispersed people across the empire as slaves. So there was no centered group about God's people. They were just split up all over the place.
Yeah.
And so they didn't just smash the city. They smashed the culture. They smashed the people. They smashed every aspect of it. And not like Babylon.
Yeah, but yeah, Babylon, let's say they take the people to Babylon. They take them in 3 waves. They take the best and the brightest. They take another group. They take another group. And they leave vine dressers. They leave people to take care of the land. But they keep them together in Babylon for 70 years until some of them come back. But like you say, Rome smashes the people. It just there's no cohesiveness. There's no structure. There's no, as you get to AD 70, everything is gone. They've dispersed. The diaspora, I think is what they called. The Jews are everywhere, and that's who Paul goes to with his mission trips. He goes to different places because that's where the Jews are now. Susan?
We see all this, we see a lot of the negatives, but there's one thread that goes through it, and I often teach this, is that when you study God's care of his people in spite of all their bad decisions, of all their rejection, he protects a core group to make his son get there, no matter what they do. And then when that's accomplished, he's done. And it's real evident. But he is there with you. He's always trying to get you where you need to be, regardless of your poor decisions. Yeah. And so the love that he has for his people is reflected. And if you look at the Old Testament that way, you understand God in a different way. And we tend to get down into the nitty-gritty. And just like Adam and Eve, he didn't kill them. He sent them outside the garden. And the same thing, he always tries to be in there with you, but at some point, he's still doing the same thing. It's just those people were not the select. Jesus came in now. He's doing the same thing for us. He always is there wanting us to do the right thing, knowing we're going to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, the New Testament theme is I want you back. And this Old Testament thing, I've always been your God. You've always been my people, and he protects the thread, even as bad as it is. He does this for correction. He wipes not for correction to, like say, have that remnant, have a bloodline to bring about the Christ. He does. He loves his people. He loves us. 2 Kings 18, 13 through 16. Now in the 14th year of King Hezekiah, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, marched against all the fortified cities of Judah and seized them. And then Hezekiah, king of Judah, sent messengers to the king of Assyria, Lachish, saying, I have done wrong, withdraw from me, whatever you impose on me, I will endure. So the king of Assyria imposed on Hezekiah, king of Judah, the payment of 300 talents of silver and 30 talents of gold. Hezekiah gave him all the silver that was found in the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house. At that time, Hezekiah cut off the gold from the doors of the temple of the Lord and from the doorposts, which Hezekiah, king of Judah, had overlaid, and he gave it to the king of Assyria. So how much of Judah was conquered by Sennacherib? Everything but Jerusalem. Everything but Judah. So the 10 tribes of Judah, they disappeared. Daniel 1-2, in the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, comes to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord handed Jehoiakim, king of Judah, over to him, along with some of the vessels of the house of God, and he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasury of God. Jerusalem was eventually taken by the Babylonians. Nebuchadnezzar sieges it, he takes it. And that's the book of Daniel. It starts out with Babylon and goes into Mede Persians. But that's who takes over to finally conquers Jerusalem. Isaiah 30:15-17. For this is what the Lord God, the Holy One of Israel, has said. In repentance and rest shall we stay. In quietness and trust is your strength. But you were not willing. And you said, no, but we will flee on horses. Therefore you shall flee, and we will ride on swift horses. Therefore those who pursue you shall be swift. 1,000 will flee at the threat of one man. You will flee at the threat of 5. Till you are left like a signal post on a mountaintop, like a flag on a hill. Although it's in there, but without question, horses typically point back to Egypt too. They were big on horses, and Rome was big on horses too, right? So these two places that are oppressive, that it also points to both these kind of things with horses. What will the people try to do in response to the invasion? Escape. Escape.
There is no escape.
You can have the city, you just can't have me. You know, but whatever I got in the bag, I'm out of here. If God wants you, He's the bloodhound of bloodhounds. There ain't no hiding from God. Where's your brother? I don't know. You know, you can't hide from God. So you're trying. Why is God doing this? Repentance and rest. You know, he wants them back, and that's really the key. And also that last part of this, I didn't. You know, it says you will flee at the threat of God. Until you're left like a single post on a mountaintop, like a flag on a hill. Why would you have a signal on a mountaintop? Why would you have a flag on a hill? Why would you put a lighthouse on the coast? Why would you put lights on an airport? Lights on a ship?
It's an indication of destruction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, well, the lighthouse is saying, don't come here.
Lighthouse says,
Be destroyed.
don't come here. You're on a ship, you see a lighthouse, don't come close.
Here, what do you see if you see a red flag at the beach?
Yeah,
You don't go in the water.
You don't go in the water. And that's what this is. It stands like a signal, stands like a flag. This happened to my people. Don't go there. Don't go there. 1,000 will flee from the threat of one man. It's in Deuteronomy 32:30. How could one have chased 1,000 and two have put 10,000 flight unless their rock had sold them and the Lord had given them up? So that's really what it is. God is, at this point, He's basically, He sold His people. Where we got? 15 verses. Go, Chuck. Very much in this. Therefore the Lord, 30:18, therefore the Lord longs to be gracious to you, and therefore He waits on high to have compassion on you. For the Lord is a God of justice. How blessed are those who long for Him. For you, people in Zion, inhabitants in Jerusalem, you will weep no longer. He will certainly be gracious to you He will certainly be gracious to you at the sound of your cry. When He hears it, He will answer you. Although the Lord has given you bread of deprivation and water of oppression, He, your teacher, will no longer hide Himself. But your eyes will see your teacher, your ears will hear a word behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. Whenever you return to the right or to the left, you will desecrate your carved images, plated with silver, and your cast metal images, plated with gold. You will scatter them into filthy things and say to them, be gone. People of Jacob cried out before in the oppression of Egypt and the slavery. Well, captivity, God is going to free them from this time.
First one was physical.
What's that?
The first captivity was physical.
Physical captivity.
The second one is spiritual.
Spiritual captivity. Is that second? Yeah. It's one's physical, one's spiritual captivity. How did he answer then and how he answers now? If you come to me, I'll take care of you. I am God, your own people. You see this is the way to walk in. You see the same thing. I see the new covenant. I see the gospel in this part of it, verse 20 to 22. God doesn't hide himself. He's light. He's there. The idols are destroyed. If you're there to hear this way, walk in. What would you do this? I see a little bit of Babylon. I see a little bit of gospel, all this. And that's the whole plan anyway. It's just keep people in so the gospel can come about later. So we'll see. All right. Thank you all.